And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. Fire in my veins, I fight to gain, breaking all the rules to keep me sane.
Hey guys, and welcome to the weekly English shooting live stream here in the Blue Fieldsports gun room. Usual setup as every single week. Of course, I'm joined by Connors, and we have the voice of God, Alex, who has an assistant.
I have no microphone.
He has no microphone. We've muted him. We thought it was too much power. We've also got Paul, Alex's assistant for this evening with the technology. But of course, we have special guest Jon Axe with us. And well,
say hi, John.
Hi, John. Yeah, so
everybody.
a little bit of a change how we usually do it, of course, because of COVID-19. We need to keep 2 meters away from John. So I hope he doesn't take it too personally.
I was looking forward to Connor's licking me.
the famous lick test.
I can lick you afterwards off camera.
So of course, John, you're quite a well-known three-gun shooter. But why don't you just tell everyone a bit of your background, how you get started, and what sort of shooting you do?
So started into shooting with Dad taking me to clays when I was a kid. Dropped out of it when I found alcohol. Got back into it on a random alcohol-related stag do. Did clays for a while and then got invited practical shooting down at Shield when it was a thing. And from there it kind of escalated somewhat. Got dragged over to America to do the Rocky Mountain 3-gun world shoot in 2014, which was 15 natural terrain stages over 5 days and was brutal. And instantly I was addicted. So
we always say like practical is one of the most addicting sports that
absolutely. So once you try it,
that way.
Yeah, once you tend to try it. I mean, funnily enough, that sort of similar entry for myself. You know, big clay shooter. Ended up going clay shooting with somebody from who was watching the channel. They were into practical. They introduced me. First practical match was using my over and under for it, but it was like, well, this is a lot more than clays. So you know, we say to people all the time, if you've been watching and you've been thinking of trying it, then just go for it, because you honestly won't look back. But you do a lot of the major matches. So what matches have you done in the States so far?
So done Rocky Mountain 3 times, done Blue Ridge, which is again another very natural terrain hard match. Done that 3 times, might be 4, I think it's 3. Did Hard as Hell, bit of a parachute story, there's a bit of a laugh. And what else have I done? I've done a few kind of local stuff while I'm in there. I was due to shoot Rocky Mountain. I did a couple of rock cards. There's a clue in the title. And I was due to go back to Blue Ridge this year, but obviously the virus put a stop to that.
Yes.
So outside of America, been doing a lot of IPSC stuff because that's pretty much the only game in town in the UK, so it is what it is. Been doing okay at that. Won my first President's Medal the other day. That was a bit of a surprise. And I've been out to shoot for the country for shotgun back in France.
So you were at the Shotgun World Shoot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was aiming to go to the mini rifle world shoot, and we'll see how that pans out. It's in Florida, so
why wouldn't you?
It might accidentally turn into a really long trip that involves as much 3-gun as I can squeeze in, but we'll see.
So I want to read some of your comments out to John, so we can see how he reacts. So I did ask John before we started if he was camera shy, and he told me it was a little too late for that now. So Jon Axe, from Stephen Wolf, Jon Axe is a phenomenal sportsman. How do you feel about that?
I think he's probably looking at the wrong Jon Axe.
Bill Moore says Jon Axe is my mini hero, like Lego Indiana Jones, but cooler.
Yeah, he's not.
So guys, obviously there is a chat comment section. John has a wealth of knowledge, and something that we are going to be talking on throughout the stream is, of course, you do have a book out at the moment, the Three Circles, as you can probably see, or is it obscured? Connor's, your head's in the way.
Yep.
There we go. So we'll talk about the book in length in a bit. But any questions that you have, anything that you want to know about international 3-gun, then put your questions in and sort of pick John's brain.
So we've got another one from Stephen Wolf again. Shame YouTube doesn't let you handle firearms, or we'd get a treat to Jon Axe's fabulous loading skills. Again, thank you YouTube for that block on handling firearms. And there was another one. Sinner 2004, just finished reading The Three Circles. Amazing book, really relatable, already helping me at work not to get stressed too.
Rock and roll.
That's good.
Perfect.
So not just in your shooting.
So not just in your shooting, and this is actually part and parcel of what your whole book is about. It's a holistic approach to your mental attitude.
Yes.
So why don't you talk about the book? Like, what inspired you to write it, and what people, what you aim for people to achieve in reading it?
So the thing that got me to write it was COVID, and I needed to be out of the house because the missus was doing my tits.
Is she watching?
Well, we're going to find out. I was knocking around the house, same as we all were, and I saw a guy on the Joe Rogan Experience, Navy SEAL, usual stuff that they talk about, and he was talking about the circles of control and circumstance, which turns out to be an ancient Greek philosophy thing based on happiness, which is you should only be concerned with the things you can control, because you can't control anything circumstantial, which is great, but it doesn't give you any tools to do that.
Yeah.
So in a moment of inspiration, which wasn't alcohol fueled for a change, Three Circles then, and started playing with the idea, ran it past a couple of people, and they kind of went, that's a really good concept. Right, okay, well, I'll go and sit in the shed and write a book then.
So what's the third circle?
It's the middle one.
I guess you have to buy the book to find out.
Yeah. It depends on the realm that you're thinking of it in. So you've got your circle of control, which is you and everything you do. You've got your circle of influence, which is the things that you can use to influence your surroundings. And then the circle of circumstance, which is the big circle on the outside, which you can do nothing about. So if you turn up to a match and it's raining, well, you're going to get wet, and if you exerted your control, then you took wet weather gear, and now you can influence whether your wet weather gear gets wet or whether you get soaked to the skin. So you can use that principle in the moment. You can use it for planning. You can use it for analysis. You can use it at work. You can, it's an ancient philosophical principle, which I've just brought into practical shooting.
So you've written the book to sort of hone it in using that principle for shooting, but of course using the general principle you can use it in general life. But it is very much the mentality of it. It's not necessarily a training guide, or it's about getting your mind in the right frame of mind and focused on the job at hand. Because we talk all the time how shooting is such a mental sport. You've got to keep your cool. You can have all the skills, you can have the ability, but if you don't keep your head, especially with practical, when the neuralizer goes off, you've got to keep your calm, keep your cool. So I guess it's giving people tools for that final element.
The truth is that the way I see it, at least, is that the shooting itself, the physical skills, any monkey can learn it.
Mm-hmm.
So why does it all break down? Well, if any monkey can learn it, and assuming the equipment's going to work, then the only thing left is you and your ability to apply your skills. And you can train those skills all you want, but if you can't apply them, they're useless to you. So learning all the principles and understanding the principles and applying those principles means that when you do come to access those skills, you're not getting in your own way, because you've accepted what you can and let go of what you can't.
Yeah. So something we actually had a conversation up at the Worcester Norton LBP match not too long ago, which I found really interesting. So in COVID and lockdown and all this, I think we're all getting stuck in our own little bubbles and our own echo chambers and things, and it's good to go out and talk to people again and get fresh ideas back in. And something you said to me about the book, when I said to you I wasn't going to read the book, you said to me, why wouldn't you read the book? Because reading something like that, like let's say 90% of it you don't want to take on, but the 10% of it that you do, that portion that you take on might shave 5 years off of your training.
Yep.
And that's something that you've said to me that's really stuck. And I know you've spoken to a lot of different people about a lot of different things. You've always got something that you've said that's stuck with someone.
Sometimes it's relevant.
Sometimes it doesn't come off either.
No.
But, I mean, if you want that insight without having to meet John, and I can completely understand why you might want to do that. So would you say that in essence you've boiled a lot of these anecdotes and philosophies into this book?
I've tried to.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the best of my ability. When you read it, you'll find I'm not a writer. But yeah, there's no point trying to get those points across if you can't. You're not getting the points across if you can't get the points across.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so you are a teacher and a coach. You do teach people shooting. You are able to communicate. So
Yes.
It's not like the book's written in hodgepodge.
No.
You say you're not a writer, but the book's still pretty well written. So it's an easy read, would you say, for a new shooter?
I've tried to make it so. Yeah. One of the problems with every shooting book I've read so far, I've read a lot, has been they want to get their points across, so they give it to you in a data form. It's very bland. It's almost data driven, not data driven, but it just doesn't come across very well. I did this, I did that. This is how you do that. Well, that's great, but that's not relatable. And I'd rather get less points across in a more relatable way so that people can understand it, rather than giving them all the information which they may not be ready for yet.
Yeah, I certainly know that when I talk to you and I've seen you talking to other people, you are very empathetic and you do change the way you speak.
Don't use that word. Nobody will ever forgive me for being empathetic.
But you can see it from someone else's point of view and tell them what they need to learn from their point of view, which is a really unique coaching skill that you don't see in a lot of people nowadays.
Thank you.
And especially not in the shooting world, where you don't actually have a lot of coaches. You have a lot of instructors, but not a lot of coaches.
Yep.
I just want to ask, what is your coaching background? Have you come from a coaching background, or is this all just the way you've developed, just learning to talk to people?
Just learning to talk to people.
Yeah.
Didn't have to, I suppose. I started a business, and I'm not a businessman, but you have to learn how to be one. And in learning how to communicate with business and all kinds of things, then those lessons are also transferable. In as much as the book is transferable to work. Jocko Willink, one of the books I recommend, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Again, Navy SEAL, they get everywhere. Apparently they just shoot people and write books. But he has transferred all the lessons he's learned from combat and managing people in combat to business. Well, some of those lessons also can be transferred over to personal life. As long as you're open enough to take your lessons where you can get them. If you're structured that I can only learn from somebody who, as we spoke earlier, I must go to the top name shooter because he'll teach me the best. No, he's great at applying his skills.
Might not be so great at communicating them to you.
I was just thinking in terms of talking about John's sort of coaching style, is that I've found back in school or even college or university, the best teachers that I've come across are actually, they're not necessarily, and I don't mean to imply this on you, but they're not actually necessarily the best in that field. But because it's not about their understanding of the topic, it's about how well they can portray it over to a classroom.
The thing is with John is you get both someone who's at the top level of his field
absolutely.
and able to communicate.
But on John's point,
if you guys don't know, John is pretty good.
And I haven't paid him to say any of this. Although that might change afterwards.
But that's my point. Is not you're saying about going to the top level shooters. Just because somebody say maths is an absolute mathematical genius doesn't mean that they possess the skills to be able to transfer that to somebody else.
That's right.
So it's a completely different skill set, which obviously you have on both sides.
I've had more failures than I've had successes. And that's how you get your successes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You learn by your mistakes, or if you learn by your mistakes, then you become better.
We're seeing a load of comments coming through. Obviously, people you've interacted
Are they all Bill Moore?
Over the years.
I think we start up here because that's the first question.
Is it just Bill Moore saying how long are his legs?
Well, that's why we've purposely cut them off. We framed it right. But just a lot of people saying, how they've had either a 5-minute conversation with you on the range, and obviously what you've said to them is stuck, and they've been able to use that going forward. But there have been a number of questions. To start with, David Kiddle. thoughts on international 3-gun with Team GB versus other nations. And actually I'll tie this in to another question that I saw, which might be quite controversial, which is who are the better shooters, the US or the UK shooters?
Right, okay, so firstly...
I think that's a difficult question. Isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So, hi Dave. So, again, the thing is, the US versus UK thing in 3-gun currently only works in America because we don't have the 3-gun culture over here.
Yep.
I'm going to use the word yet. So that means us going over there to do it, and that's absolutely fine. Could we shoot against them? Yes, we could. Would we beat them? It depends who they are. We don't have the levels of we don't have the guns, so we are limited by the practice. Yes, we can practice with other platforms. Yes, all the principles are transferable. But to go over and compete, we would need to put ourselves on the same playing field as them. And until we build the 3-gun culture in this country, that's not likely. Not to be competitive. Could we go over and compete? Well, yeah, of course we could. If you start bringing out big names like Aaron Hayes, Tim Yackley, Josh Froley, I mean, just keep throwing names out there. We're not going to beat them. And when they come over and play with our LBPs and R22s to play with 3-gun UK, we're going to get beaten by them because they're semi-pro shooters, and the level of skill is greater than us, down to practice. We don't shoot 3-gun matches because we haven't got any.
So obviously you're doing a lot of matches over in the States, COVID aside, but how do you train in the UK apart from actually going somewhere else, going to another country? What guns would you be using? What sort of training drills would you be doing here with our, say, limited access to guns?
So firstly, there's the mental aspect. A lot of people get hung up over, well, I can't shoot a 9mm pistol, therefore I can't shoot a pistol. Well, no, you can shoot with an airsoft. The principles are the same. The ballistics are slightly different.
David will love that.
Literally not allowed to swear. So.
You're allowed to swear as far.
Especially like a swear per minute.
And if you're swearing at David Kiddle, all the better.
Okay, is there a swear jar? But once you get over the concept that you can train with any gun as long as you understand the platform, I went from a Ruger 1022, to a M&P 1522 purely because I needed to shoot an AR platform. That was it. That was the only reason. You can only shoot one gun at a time, so actually all the principles are transferable, and you can only practice one platform at a time, no matter what country you're in. So as long as you set out your principles of training and your principles of performance, to rip Steve Anderson, then you can practice as well as anybody else. What would I use? I would try and mimic what I'm going to use in America to the best of my ability. I shoot a Beretta 1301 with my shotgun, but the principles of an M2 are the same. So, okay, they're slightly different in certain manipulations, but generally you're going to be okay. I've got a Grand Power, what's it called? K22. I've got the standard one, not the X-Trim, because I'm a skinflint.
Well, actually, that's something that interests me, because when we were up at that match, I noticed you were shooting the standard model. Do you think that there's any difference between the standard model and an X-Trim or the race or anything like that, in terms of actual usability and functionality?
No. It's got the same 12-inch barrel. It's got... Okay, are the triggers better in the X-Trim? Arguably. Does it make a difference? Arguably. Is it going to make a difference to your match? Probably not. The same principles. Will it make it easier to fire a very, very precise shot? Yeah, of course it will. We're not shooting accuracy though, are we? We're shooting acceptable levels of accuracy, not pinpoint accuracy. We're not shooting Bianchi. We're shooting Ipsy.
If you're getting all alphas, you're going to go
too slow.
slowly.
So yes, you can use so the X-Trim. So the front sight on my standard gun has been made by Otto from Cotswold. Or
Yeah, Cotswold. Yeah.
I don't do well with names. I don't
Yeah,
pay any
Cotswold
attention.
Classic Arms.
It doesn't help when Otto's involved with two very similarly named companies.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
So, but the front sight on mine is significantly thinner than the one on the X trim, which means I can pick it up quicker, and I'm just as accurate with it. It's actually it's not far off the same as the one I use in America. Whereas the X trim, when I pick one up afterwards, I'm like, ooh, that's quite fat. I'm not used to that kind of thing. Doesn't change anything, just means I'm not used to it. So yeah, from a principal point of view, yeah, you can train it all. And when you go out to America, as long as you know they don't care what your performance is. You're the only person who ever cares what your performance is.
Well, actually, that ties into a question from Tony Victor. Do you ever find your desire to win overriding just having fun?
No, not anymore. So that's the caveat. Not anymore. Yes, I used to, and I understood very much that to win meant going fast, and being faster than the next man, because that's what we're told. Shoot fast. You go faster than the next guy. That's how you win. Which is true up to a point, and that point is where you start becoming not accurate enough. So you have to be accurate enough, and you have to do it as fast as you can. Winning is a double-edged sword. It's great in the moment, and then your mum says, "Well done, love," on Facebook, and the moment's gone. And you've got another trophy for the shelf, which is gathering dust. Nobody gives a shit. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You care, and you're the only one who cares. I've really struggled with losing fun in the sport. I was about ready to pack it in a couple of years ago. Some people will argue I probably should have. But it sort of went back to what first got me into practical, or at least addicted me to practical, and realised that, okay, well, fun's what it's about. Funnily enough, since then, my results have got better.
Do you sort of feel like the whole COVID-19 lockdown thing has almost pressed the reset button on it for you?
No, it was before that.
Before that?
Yeah, it was Blue Ridge 2018. It was getting back to three gun, getting back to the community, getting back to the running around like a lunatic with my hair on fire and having great fun. Not to say that IPSC isn't great fun. It's just a different type of fun, and it had burnt me out. So the expectation of performance, which is a massive thing. In IPSC, I've got an expectation of performance for myself, let alone what everybody else has got for me. Like, well, he always wins, therefore he's here to win. Well, okay, but nobody knows the future, so that's not a given. But still, that level of expectation just screws with people's heads. So actually getting back to roots and taking that expectation away, the best way of explaining it is if you imagine expectation as a constriction on your bandwidth. Well, once you take that expectation away, whether it's because you throw away your first stage, you go, oh, well, I'm not going to win now, and then you have an absolute screamer of a match, it's because you've let go of that expectation. So if you can let go of that expectation before you get there, how do you do that? By thinking, because that's the only thing that it's about. It's about mental game. So by giving up on expectation, 2018 was it 2018? 2018 I did okay at Blue Ridge. 2019 I had a really good rock card. I think I finished 9th, I think. I'd have to get my phone out, but I've turned it off. So.
That's pretty good going for a Brit in a US match.
Yeah. And then 2019 Blue Ridge, I can't remember where I finished, but I finished high enough to win a gun. So I was very, very happy, which I should say thanks to Dave Horn, who's never going to see this. But he said, he was walking the prize table, he said, "Don't you want this pistol?" What? Say what? Yeah, I'll take that.
Free guns.
$2,000 worth of double star 45 caliber 1911 that I'm never ever going to shoot. Still a gun, can't complain.
Absolutely.
Again, so that match, that was like an absolute torturous match. I lost my passport. Don't do that.
I mean, there's worse things than getting stuck out in the US, though, right?
Well, I guess. So that was quite stressful. I did something to my back after the first day of competition. So on the second day of competition, I could barely walk. So all my expectation was completely out the window. And that goes back to the performance thing. Like, why did I perform so well? Because probably losing my passport was making me focus on the job in hand rather than worrying about all the rest of the crap going on.
Yeah.
And at the same time, knowing that I couldn't do anything about it, and that there's other things in life outside of shooting. But I'm here to enjoy myself right now. Which, again, the circles thing, keep seeing it past your head, it's quite weird. What can you control? What can you influence? And what is your circumstance? Circumstances are lost my passport. What can you do about it? Well, I can let the passport in the office now. But I'm in another country. It's not, there's only so much I can do. What can I influence? Well, I can contact the passport office. Okay, that's done. There's nothing else I can do.
Yeah.
Get on with the next thing. What's the next thing? Shoot that stage. Okay, what can I control? My guns, me, my mental game. Just get on with it. So it's a really good lesson.
Yeah.
Pretty shit
I mean,
circumstance stuff.
We've talked about it before. There's been a number of matches, and you say about tanking the first stage, and I've done it, and you end up then having like your best performances,
Yep.
and it is really odd. You almost stop trying and you do better.
Yes.
And I remember it was Dartford for you a couple of years ago.
Dartford 2018 for me. Went into the match. I was pretty sure my gun was broken. I hadn't picked it up or anything for 6 weeks, and this was that year when there were 7 matches that year, right? And everyone had been on it. It was the World Shoot year. I wasn't expecting to do well because I remember been training all year. My gun was broken and everything like that, and I came second with like 99.97%, and it was because I just didn't care. I just went and had fun at the match.
You said going into it like I am just here. I'm pretty much here to just spectate.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going for it. It's gonna be shit. And then.
But because of that, I probably shot faster than I normally would because I didn't really care too much about missing. And actually, I missed a lot of that match, and I took away for myself a lot of personal lessons from that match, which I've then put into 2019, and then did well over 2019. But it was all about exactly what you say, losing that, not having that expectation of yourself, and just shooting what's in front of you.
Yep. At the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
When you're on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
it's your stage. Shoot it in your best way.
Yeah.
One target at a time.
We've got a question from Willsy Bub.
Willsy Bub.
Love that name. How do you handle we actually get the question quite a lot, and I imagine it's something you've done a lot. How do you handle the legal aspects of storing and transporting internationally?
So that'll be the guns and...
So, and
Yes.
I'll sort of tie this in. So obviously you're going to travel with your 1301, so there's going to be processes of doing that. But then obviously the guns that you use out there, you can't bring them back. You
Nope.
can't be transporting them. So again, in terms of, aside from the transporting, how do you get hold of guns out there as well, and the legalities of that?
So myself, over the years, I have developed a network of friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I borrow their guns.
Okay.
Effectively, they're taking their guns to the range, and I shoot them. Depending on the state, so Kentucky, they can give you the guns at their house, and you can drive them there for them. You wouldn't want to be crossing state lines.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That probably wouldn't be too sensible.
So I'd say that's definitely one thing to watch out for is crossing state lines,
Yeah,
especially if you're anywhere near Chicago or somewhere like
Oh
that.
yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, because there's quirks like you can transport a 30-round mag through Chicago as long as you're not stopping anywhere in Chicago or stopping overnight. or
The
something
same
like that.
for California. We had when we went out to Utah a few years ago. Somebody had a Typhoon F12. The gun itself they classified as an assault rifle,
Yep.
and he had 15, 20 round magazines on him, and people were taking PMags and all sorts, and they nailed it down and said, if you literally come off of the plane and leave, you can't stay there overnight, and you have to literally just be leaving the state as quickly as possible.
Yep.
But if there's people out there that they've done a bit of practical over here and they want to go and do, let's say the real deal, the real thing of three gun, what advice would you give people, because they might not know anyone, so what are other ways that they could get their hands on guns for shooting?
The simplest method would be to contact the match organizer, because you've got to sign in anyway.
Yes, yeah.
So you're going to be, your best option is going to be to contact the match organizer and say, hey, I'm a Brit, what suggestions have you got? They're going to fall over backwards to help you.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that a certain Mr. Kiddle has offered his US shooting trip guns to, I don't know if he'll rent them out to anybody. I imagine you'd have to talk it to him.
Yeah.
And I imagine he'll be in a minute to tell you what that communication method is.
Yeah.
That Kiddle will help people out if he can.
Yeah.
Well, it's why we work so closely with David. David is one of the guys that is, he's trying to push things forward, trying to help people out and get more people into the sport. So we'll usually do anything you can to help.
Yeah.
But I can definitely...
he's got guns out there, he's got ammo out there if you're intended to go and shoot a 3-gun.
And he has all the contacts as well.
If you're going to go out there and shoot some 3-gun, why not just ask him and see what we can
But
do.
also,
I'd also look at the legalities. So I know,
Yeah.
wherever Dave stores his guns,
I think they're all in Kentucky.
Kentucky, yes.
then you can get them shipped. UPS can ship them, so they could ship them to the match.
They can stick them in the post, it's hilarious.
That's great. So they could ship them to the match and ship them to the match director, and then when you sign in, you just say, hi, my name's whatever.
Yeah.
They go, I've got a box for you. Cool, happy days. Alternatively, you just contact the match director and say, you got any suggestions?
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, I've found it, going and doing shooting on work trips, you just turn up to a range, and usually they're the tourist range that I've, go and you pay your $20 and you rent a gun. But as soon as people out there in the US realise that you're British and that you have a love for firearms, guns just appear every single time. Like, try this. No, really, I've shot. No, try that. The most extreme case of this was I was out in Roswell. There was a local gun club, and I dropped them an email and said, look, I'm out here, and it wasn't a tourist range. It was a proper locals club. Dropped them an email, got through to the chairman, basically said, look, I've got a day break, we're out here for a week, but I've got a day break. Is there anything that you can do? He ended up, him and his son, took a day off work, met me at a Walmart, took me to the ammunition section, was like, what do you want to shoot? I was like, well, what do you have? He said, no, what do you want to shoot? Like, any caliber you can pick here, like, we've got something. And they bought out, it's something like 30 guns, and we spent the whole afternoon together, and I was shooting all of their guns. They had no problem, they weren't precious about it. I think they were more excited to sort of share that with me. So I can definitely vouch for that. Americans do tend to be sort of the most sort of open arms out of the shooting industry, and we'll just try and do everything you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get in contact with the match organizer. I guess it's sort of the golden nugget for that one. And don't be scared. Like, anyone can go and do it. It's not against the law. Well, COVID aside, it's not against the law to hop on a plane and go out to America and shoot as a Brit. And because the laws out in America are a little bit more lax than here, it's fairly
well, you're
flexible.
at a registered sporting event.
Yeah.
That's the law.
Yes,
if you could pay for a hunting tag and use rifles, American rifles, to go out and do whatever your tag's going to do. So they have that provision within their law to say, well, you're at a sporting event, so you're a guest, and as a guest, you can use these guns.
On that note, and going back very quickly to taking your own guns out to these competitions, I know for certainly European stuff and using our European firearms pass, we have to have a letter of invitation from the match director. Same thing for the US?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's for the airlines more than anything.
No. ATF. So you need an ATF form as well. 6 NIAD, I think it is. Temporary import license. Take the gun in. You've got to take it away with you when you go. So you need an invitation to get that that form. One thing to be wary of is it's very simple getting the guns out through customs. but it's not necessarily cheap.
No.
There are airlines out there that are good, and there are airlines out there that will strip you out of your cash for the pure sake of filling out a form and then getting the customs to do the job anyway, which effectively you're paying a guy to drag your gun from sign-in desk to customs.
Yeah.
And you could be looking at, I can't remember what it was last time, I think it was £68 extra baggage, because it's an extra bag because you're taking your bag anyway, and then £125 processing fee,
Yeah.
something like that,
Jeez.
each way.
I know we had pretty good luck when we went to Hungary with the shotguns. We went via EasyJet. They were pretty reasonably priced.
EasyJet are okay, they
Yeah.
restrict it to 2 guns per bag.
Which isn't great for 3 gun, but then I guess you're not taking a
No.
pistol with you, are you?
No, you're only taking shotgun. Again, you've got to be careful with what you put in the bag. Don't put a bottle of whiskey in your gun bag.
Is there a story there?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe a certain Mr. Ducker got the brunt end of a stick when he said, "Hi John, how are you?" As I was stripping my bag out and the Heathrow floor, just gun bits everywhere. Like, okay, my toys have just come out of the pram. It's to do with liquid, so you're not allowed to put oil in there.
Yeah.
That's a Heathrow thing, so it might be
Okay.
different airport.
Oh well.
So again, so rigs, there is no, currently at least that I'm aware of, restriction to put in your rig in your carry-on, and that's great. Apart from if you're going to America, their law states that they cannot allow any gun or part of a gun, including magazines, into the cabin. They're allowed to put pouches and holsters, but it is down to the ATF agent.
As to whether or not you deem your caddy a magazine, essentially.
So I was going through Washington airport, and they went, we're not sure, so we'll call over the supervisor. Supervisor said, no, that's like a holster for shotgun shells. So I'm stood there showing them videos in the arrivals. No, that's a caddy for a mag pouch for shotgun shells. So what do we do? And they were like, well, we let them through. Good, let them through. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool, no worries. Ship the match, flying out of Nashville. No, that's got to be checked. Like, no, it's like a mag pouch. No, it looks like part of a gun. And I went through this whole conversation that went along the lines of, she said, it looks like part of a gun. I said, which part of a gun? She said, any part. I said, yeah, get that. Which part? Any part. Which part do you think it looks like? Any part. Right, fine. Okay, just get me out there and I'll go and check it.
Yeah.
Which was nice in a way. Cause
I certainly had an interesting one, again, to go back to the Hungary trip. I think I forgot what airport we were flying from. But I remember on the UK side, so they took us into this little room and we had to open the guns, open the boxes, read out the serial numbers so they could check it against their FAC. And he goes, how many shots does that hold? Oh, it holds 10 shots. He goes, oh, that's illegal. It's on my firearms ticket. Oh, that's illegal. It's like, okay. There is a certain level of ignorance, and I think you have to have patience with people at airports because it's not their full-time job to know the laws and regulations of handling guns. They're confiscating dried meats from people and stuff like that. You know, a gun probably doesn't come across their path very often, and when it does come across their path, it's probably a whole bunch of people at once because you're all going to the same match.
Yeah.
So
the other thing is they're the gatekeeper.
yes,
Don't piss off the gatekeeper.
be nice to them.
When I've had instances,
And they are just doing their jobs. Never be rude to them.
Yeah.
Just
at the end of the day, they're trying to make sure that nothing bad is going to end up on that plane, which no one wants. But I've had a run in at Chicago. I had my Razor on a mount in my hand luggage with a Nexus 12, the original Nexus 12. The scope they were absolutely fine with. The mount, because I guess it was closer to the gun, they were a bit more dubious about. I said, but that's, if you're okay with the scope, like that's what the scope goes on. They go, yeah, but the scope goes on the gun. It's like, no, there's a mount in between, and yeah, but is it part of the gun? And I managed to get them through that. But then the caddy, again, they'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what's it for? It's like, well, shotgun shells. Oh, so it holds shotgun shells. Yes, but it's not a firearm. It goes on the belt. And they ended up having to call various people over, and there was almost, you know, you're showing them, you go, if I can take down a plane with this, then like I've got some amazing skills here.
Yeah.
So, it is a bit ignorance or naivety to it, and you get loads of different guns. We've had it in the UK. Or my experience, we've had even trained firearms officers. They can't tell the difference between a rifle and a shotgun because it just doesn't. That's not what they're exposed to every single day. So yeah. Be polite. Don't get arsy. You might be running late for your flight, but that's why you should always certainly if you're travelling with guns, give yourself a lot of time.
I'd always recommend the maximum.
Yes.
So whenever I fly out, whenever I fly out of Heathrow, generally it's Heathrow going to America, could be Gatwick. I got Nightfall. Yes, it might cost a few extra quid. Yes, it's a pain in the ass. Alternatively, you could be parked on the M4, sat in a traffic jam, watching planes come into land and not being able to do anything about it, just getting more and more angry. Yeah. So, got night before, have a couple of beers.
It's the three circles again. What can you
what
control?
What can't you control?
Yeah. We've got a question from Mig here. Mig would like to know if John will attend the Shotgun World Shoot 2022 in Thailand.
If Mig wants to pay for me.
It's going to be an expensive proposition shooting in Thailand. Right now there's a huge issue with ammo. Certainly it's come up for the Handgun World Shoot where they had ammo available because you can't import your own ammo because of Thailand's laws. And they were going to charge, I think it was 19 cents a round for 9mm ammo for the Handgun World Shoot. And it's going to be very much the same thing for shotgun. Where we're going to
500 rounds you need for the World Shoot, is it?
It's more than that, I think, for the handgun.
Jeez.
Well, I think the round count for shotgun is like 300 rounds. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I didn't count, I just took a lot.
just take a lot. But that's the thing. So, Shotgun World Shoot Thailand is going to be probably the most expensive world shoot that's ever going to come
when
across.
you've got to go halfway across the world.
Well, yes and no. From what I understand, so very short answer to you, Mig, not currently, but that's got more to do with domestic reasons than, as in my wife, who, if she's watching this, might now turn around and go, "You what? You can go if you want." Plan worked. It's, from what I understand, the range isn't too far from the main tourist kind of hotels and stuff. So actually, if you can get an all-inclusive package holiday, leave the missus by the pool, go and shoot for half a day, come back. Okay, so now you get a holiday out of it. But you do have to have an understanding wife because you're not going to be around for a good portion of the day. Ideally, you do want to be sort of knocking around with your buddies in the evening as well. Depends on whether you want to get any sort of training in, because acclimatisation, I mean, one of the worst things about France was the temperature.
Yeah.
I'm a Brit. I like it cloudy.
And France for the Shotgun World Shoot was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah, it was brutal. So if you're going to like
27 to 30 degrees at times out there.
Yeah.
I know we went to shoot the French Nationals where it was actually a few degrees colder, and a lot of the Brits came away with heat stroke, just because it's exposure. You're out in that sun all day. They had their little shelters, but it wasn't much once you put all the gears and guns under there.
I found it out in Utah. 110 degrees heat, American
heat, not English heat.
No, and we just weren't used to it, and they had to keep telling us, drink more water, drink. He's like, yeah, but I've already polished off like 10 bottles, keep drinking.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of people that I have that aren't used to it go out there and end up collapsing on a stage or something. We weren't going to the toilet. There was days where we had 10 bottles of water and I wouldn't go to the toilet all day.
Sweat it out.
But it was very dry heat.
Yep.
So, I know you've talked about, because you're going to Thailand,
It's going to be humid out there.
You're going out 2 weeks before.
That was the plan.
Yep.
Was the plan is a bunch of us would go out 2 weeks before just to acclimatise.
Yeah.
If we can get some range time, we would. But that's assuming I'm still going, which again is never a guaranteed thing.
I do just want to say, I know he's already said that he's actually left the stream, but Stephen Wolf did very early on send a quick donation to the stream. So thanks, Stephen. He says he's going to catch this up later. But the question he asked was, do you guys listen to any podcasts, and which one, in terms of shooting, hunting and fishing, he listens to Into the Wilderness? So John, do you listen to any podcasts at all?
I spend more time on podcasts than I do anything else. It's,
nice.
It's getting ridiculous, if I'm honest. It's just where I don't have a real job. Right, shooting stuff. obviously my direction is practical shooting rather than sort of hunting stuff. Fine, but that's just not what I do. That shooting show from Steve Anderson is very good. You do have to sort of get into the Steve mindset, which can be a little bit daunting at times, but stick with it. There's a mass of great stuff on Anderson's podcast. Eric Levy does. I wish I hadn't turned my phone off now. What's that one called? Firearms Nation. He does a thing every year where he gets a bunch of instructors together, does an hour interview with them, and then you pay your $20 or whatever, and you get access to that. But then he may release them like as time goes on. Mm-hmm. His is a good one. Firearms Nation. Three Gun Show with Dave Hartman. Mm-hmm. That's very good. He's taken a bit of a break from it recently because he's changed jobs and stuff, but that's very good. I don't know. Let's have a quick look. I know I wrote some at the back of the book.
Oh, so you've put them in the book, so even more sort of useful guides for you in the book. We've got just a quick question from while you're looking through that. Ricardo Bryan, if you have an FAC and a slot available, is it legal to travel to the US, purchase firearms, say a CMMG Resolute, in 2.2 and then travel home? Yes, absolutely.
That is, you need to get you need to inform your firearms department that you're bringing the gun back, and they will issue you with the import permit in which to bring that back. But if you already have the slot, then yes, it is legal. I would check with your FEO for the specifics, because I do understand it differs between different FLDs. And
obviously declare it. You definitely
you definitely have to declare it. But
yeah,
when you go out there, it will be on your FAC. Like, they might not have seen an FAC or know how to fill it out, but they can certainly give you the information, and you just tell them, okay, so you'll get their name and address and their authority to possess the gun, which they have, because there'll be FFLs out there in the US, and then just get them to sign a date on your FAC once you've filled that all in.
But back to the podcast.
All the rest of it was mental stuff.
Mental stuff. But yeah, we're going to have a quick pause. Give John a little bit of a rest, although he can interject as he wants, because of course.
This stream's all about John.
It is. But it needs to be a bit about you as well.
Okay.
Because Magload is always innovating. It's always bringing out new products.
I'd almost forgotten about it, actually.
It's right there. And it's been spinning nicely behind your screen.
Right, so we had these little spinny things out for the Target Shooting Show, just have a few products on display. Yeah. This now, I'm so happy with how Click has come out that I've actually got this spinning on my desk permanently.
He actually does.
It's
slightly sad. I'm gonna snip them so they stop, or cover it over.
No, don't stop my spinning. Yeah, okay. So we'll talk about Click.
So we've talked about some of the early prototypes. I think it.
Yeah, certainly showed them on the stream.
Some
of the earlier prototypes. There are a few differences in the production stuff. More mounting holes. A bit better security. Slightly thicker front plate, just because I went with a safety factor of 4, and then I said, well, let's make it 8 because it's a clip. The one thing you don't want is something ever coming off a clip, no matter what bit of stage furniture you run into. So just like double the safety factor on that, even though it didn't really need it.
But this was actually born out of, because we've both used Tetlocks. I'm sure. Do you use Tetlocks, John?
I used to.
He's got everything bolted to his belt now.
I use 10mm bolts.
Okay, so no clips at all, just straight to the belt.
It depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
My 3-gun rig is bolted. Shotgun's bolted.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a hybrid belt that I use for mini rifle and pistol. It's kind of got 1 mag pouch of each. Mm-hmm. They're Tetlocks. I think my pistol belt is probably I can't remember, it's so long since I used it, because if I'm shooting pistol match, I just use my 3-gun rig. I look like a bit of an idiot, but it's for training, so why not?
Yeah. Is that for consistency? I'm guessing everything stays in the same place.
Yeah,
it's never going to move.
I do know a lot of people, a lot of Americans that say, well, okay, I can swap everything round.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, but when I'm driving my car, I don't move where my clutch is.
Oh, Mozzie.
It's a Mozzie. It's been flying around this whole time.
I'm going to get it in a minute.
So you don't move your seating position every time you get in your car. You don't move where the clutch position or the brake pedal is every time you get in your car. It's always in the same place. When it's always in the same place, you know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
You move things. Like, well, shit.
Absolutely.
I've lost it.
But something that is very popular, as you say, and people do adjust and change their belts. I mean, I only have one. I should really just stop being poor and buy some more. But I only have one 2-part belt, and I only have one shotgun belt. So I'm always chopping and changing mine depending on what I'm doing.
Yep.
Be that mini rifle, shotgun, 3-gun, whatever. We've used tech locks. Well, I've used tech locks since I started shooting.
And the problem is the supply of tech locks has dried up.
I mean, Magload was selling the H&S sort of tech
we're
locks.
selling quite a lot of them.
Yep.
Quite a big throughput of them, and then the supply just dried
We
up.
just couldn't get them for love nor money, or the price. They used to be able to get a tech lock for like £8, then it was £10, and then it was £12, now it's 15. I've seen some people selling them upwards of £20.
Yeah, and it just got a bit silly. And did you get it?
Did I get it?
No, I don't think you did. You're not that fast.
I want to get the young'un on it.
More right?
Paul, Mozzie. I'm sure it would be if I put an action air gun in your hand.
You'd shoot the wings off of it. Double alpha. But yeah, so we couldn't get tech locks.
So for anyone who doesn't know, click is a belt clip.
Yeah.
It does what a tech lock does, just better, of course. No, it doesn't. Whereas tech lock is an all-round general purpose clip used for all sorts of weird and wonderful things, knives, you name it. This is a focused competition clip, if you like.
So it's smaller, lighter, more compact.
It's lighter, it's more compact, it's thinner on the back of the belt, because one of the issues you get when you put a tech lock on a 2-part belt is you actually lose that much Velcro on the back to stick to your inner belt.
Yeah.
And not only do you lose that, because it's got thickness to it in this direction, you
it.
lose the Velcro that's then sort of coming down towards the belt as well. Whereas this has got like a 1mm thick stainless steel backplate on there, which occupies very little space in the first place, and again lets your Velcro belt
just
touch around it.
Move it to
over here.
Yeah, to me. But the main thing you've got, say, two,
and it's narrower, and that's the other main thing, is it's narrower, so you can fit more of them closer together. It's great, especially if, like me, you're a weirdo and you like to have your mag pouches sticking out for a pistol.
Freak.
Yeah, suits me down to the ground.
It appears you're the freak because we're both bullets out.
Surrounded by freaks. Paul's the authority.
I'm
normal.
Oh, okay.
You're not having that in writing.
So we got 2 types of clips really. We've got the fixed clip, which we're going to recommend for holsters, but quite frankly the quick release one will be more than fine for it. Yeah. The reason why we recommend the fixed clip for a holster is you don't want any wiggle. You want to reduce as much movement as you can on the holster. So
and also you're
and the fixed clip is cheap.
It's cheap, but you're also much less likely going to be moving around your whole holster.
Oh yeah,
you're not going to be. Oh, for this stage, I'm going to put it here. No,
I mean, good practice. Holster is your index point when you put your belt on. You don't put it on at the front, or at least I don't. I would say put your holster on first, and then wrap the rest of the belt around you, and everything else should find its own position. Especially if, like me, you tend to change in size, normally growing bigger and not smaller.
Depends if you've had a Wetherspoons breakfast or not.
Yeah, and then you turn up at an action air match and you get called out because suddenly you've put on so much weight your mag pouches are no longer at the right place and you have to move them back around, which did happen at the level 3 at the Grange, which was hilarious to some but quite upsetting to me.
Those are my hips.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun having the RO like poking my squidge going, are you sure that's your hip? Oh dear. Sad times. Okay, so and then on to the thing which people seem to really love is the quick release. So it's a thin, narrow quick release, sort of self-locating. Once you start it in the right position, it will find its own way down, click and lock. It's got 2 points of security, top and bottom, as well as the wedge that stops you from driving it too far down. And one thing we haven't really talked about at all, because we didn't show it with the prototypes, is the link, which is just a metal bar. It's a drop link.
Yeah.
So it's got slots in it. You can adjust it however you want, just to drop your mag pouches.
Talking about, the main feature is the quick
It's
the quick change.
It's the quick change.
So obviously these are mounted. They are absolutely rock solid. The only reason that spins is because that's me attaching this.
You haven't put the serrated washer between the two.
No.
'Cause that particular holster needs a serrated washer.
That's all flex in the belt.
Yeah.
There's no movement in the clip or click, but basically you've got a little lever underneath. You push that outwards, it just slides straight off. So if, for some reason, if you wanted to just change these out, you move it, and there you go. That's so. The plan is, I think, the way that I'm going to do my belt is have a number. So they're the QRBs is the product code for them.
Yeah, so we've gone with like a 3-letter naming structure for these because that's what our focus group seem to respond to, weirdos. So we've got the QRB, which is the base module. We've got the QRL, which is a low-profile clip. So it's
which is what I've got on there, the
so
smallest one.
I'm calling this a single-width clip. This is just so we can differentiate between them. But it doesn't stick out very far at all from the front of the clip. It's actually only a millimetre. We then have the QRS, which is the single-width clip but full thickness. The full thickness ones allow you to use longer bolts without having to worry about trimming them down quite as much as you do with the low profile. There's quite a lot of space underneath for extra bolt, and it does sit a bit prouder from the belt. So this is great if you're mounting a caddy, because a caddy's curved. You can actually mount it directly to this without spacers.
That was like the sub-driving force is not only couldn't we get hold of Tetlocks, but so many people were, with the Nexus Pro.
We only sold Tetlocks because people wanted ways of attaching our loaders to their 2-part belts.
For 3-gun. So V loaders and with the Nexus Pro 8, more people using those for 3-gun. We wanted to give a solution. Even if it was somebody else's solution, we wanted to give them a solution with the product to be able to mount it.
So going on from the QRS, which is the single width one, I'm going to sort of skip one here, and there's a reason for it, and go to the QRT, which is the triple width. This gives you that familiar bolt hole pattern that you're used to with a Techlock.
And that is identical to the Techlock.
That is all of these are 19.1mm hole spacing, which is identical to a Techlock. It's identical to Hoppner and Schumann and any Chinese clones that you may be running as well. They're all the same mounting spacing and pattern. So I've done that because a lot of people like to run traditional Techlocks. It might be a holster, it might be like a knife sheath, but also 2 V loaders on one triple clip. And the reason why I've left the last one to last is because it's a new take, I think, on the 9-hole fixing method. So the thing is with this one here is you can mount something vertically or you can mount something at 45 degrees. Great if you haven't got so many circular slots. So the QRD, the double width one, still has 9 holes. They still have 19.1mm spacing, but half that spacing, 9.55mm spacing between these, which means you get your vertical. You can have your 45 across 2 holes there. You can have like a 30 degree there, a 20 degree if you use those 2 holes. And I just think it gives you more versatility in the different angles that you can mount to. It's more compact. It's got more mounting options than the bigger clip does. And I think that this is going to be the next layout that people will start using. I'd like to think so, because this is my favourite clip out of all of them. I mean, you're not allowed to have favourites amongst children. It certainly will never be Callum. So, I think I'll choose that over Callum.
How about your child? How the fuck did that happen?
Well, you've got half a beard.
No, I'm the apprentice. I'm the apprentice.
No, you're not. You're not even good enough to be the apprentice. Paul's the apprentice.
But you're clean shaven. You have much to learn.
That's not clean shaven. That's never had to shave.
No, never had to shave.
You'll get there eventually, and then you'll regret it. Don't worry.
But yeah, we're like very happy.
Yeah, and of course the laser engraving on the back because
that was a brilliant idea. Whoever came up with that.
definitely brilliant idea. All my idea. Definitely all my idea.
And we were talking. I think it was last week on the stream where I got asked what my what video I was most proud of. I think it was. That's changed because it's most definitely the launch video for this. Try the load.
If you haven't seen the launch video for the clip, go on Magload's Facebook page and have a watch it. It's definitely one of Callum's best videos. It's
short, it's sweet, it's sort of to the point, but I tried some new things on it and it just ended up turning out really, really well. I was like, I did good for once. So yeah, the new clip that's available from Sorry, John.
I was going to ask you to chuck me a water.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So available from magload.co.uk as always, as is, I don't know if we said yet, as is John's book, so
John's
that's on
book,
magload.co.uk as well,
Yeah.
or Amazon.
Yeah.
So if you have a Prime account, I mean, we do next day delivery.
We
now,
do next day
so
delivery.
thanks to-
Prime does next day delivery.
Yeah.
Do
You'll get it quicker through Magload.
you reckon?
Really?
No, I know, because I know how the system works.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have stock of those.
Okay.
Oh, I do. I've got a little bit of stock.
Yeah.
But if you buy them off Amazon, it's print to order,
Oh, right.
Okay.
so they got to print them.
Okay.
So it's going to take like 3
So-
4 days.
You heard it, Magload is faster than Amazon.
Well, only if you
We're
get to
gonna-
the shop.
We're going to have to get more books off you.
Yeah. But yeah, so any of the gear you see, go and check out magload.co.uk. Connors
Yeah.
needs to pay rent.
I'll again, guys, this like I'm very proud of this product, and it's always one of those products that I don't think are going to be all that special that end up
Yeah.
putting far too much time into. I'd like to know your thoughts.
Absolutely.
A lot of our products are customer driven, so I would like to know what you think about these and whether it's a complete waste of time, because it might be a complete waste of time.
Well, we've definitely got a new, Gucci
We've
setup.
definitely got a nice new. If you guys don't buy them, it's fine. We've got 350 clips we can pinch for ourselves.
You're going to need to eat more pies.
Yes.
That's not a problem.
Well, people will be getting clips for their birthdays and Christmas for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But just to say again, guys, any questions to John, to us, anything you want to talk about, put them in the comment section. And make sure as well you give it a thumbs up. I still think we're running that if we get to 100 likes, I leave the stream, because of course no one's really interested in me anymore. It's all about Connors, it's all about John or the voice of God. And I'm sure Paul will be replacing me, sooner rather than later.
Does that make him Jesus? If he's the apprentice
I'll take Jesus.
and he's
Paul is Jesus. There we go. What does that make you?
Well, I don't know, but one of the things that Jesus said is bring me 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So
I don't
this
know
is
where
about to
this
go
is
very
going.
sideways.
I mean, if we want to go into religion and he's Jesus,
Divide by 0?
let's not go there. that is a conversation that is not live stream friendly.
So we've got back onto the guns and the reason you're all here, obviously. Ad H, which AR-15-22 semi-auto would you go for? Chris Defence, Landtac, Spikes,
This one.
Northwest Custom Parts, CMMG, Resolute.
So CMG Resolute is something we've heard bouncing around a lot. We've never
Yeah.
actually had our hands on one. As far as I understand it, it's CMG's complete built gun. It's the one that their bulk kit is intended to go in the first place.
You pass me a Pepsi.
Out of your list, I would probably say the Landtac is if like money no object type thing, and the Landtac SS50 isn't a particularly expensive gun. Certainly, that's probably the best one on your list there.
I'd agree.
Having no experience with the Resolute, I would say do consider a 1522 on your shortlist. Yes, it's a plastic gun, but there's a reason why a lot of people run it in competition.
Yep.
They are reliable.
And it's what you run, isn't it? 1522. So I mean, we're a little bit biased because Connors runs a 1522.
Well, you say that I am actually building.
You are, yeah.
Another two.
I think you'll be back to the 1522.
So the thing with the 1522 is decide the fact it's cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's made to a tolerance. So a Landtac is going to be a better gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be more accurate, and all the things that a better gun brings. One of those is a match chamber, and if you've got a tighter chamber, you may run into reliability issues. If you're having to put in another piece of kit because you've got to buy one of those adapters, whether they come with them or not, so you can use an M&P mag, that's another piece of kit to go wrong. The M&P, it's not pretty, but we're not looking at sub-MOA accuracy. We're shooting a paper target at mini rifle ranges. Okay, IPSC stuff's out to like 120, but in this country we don't really see them. And if you're going to start thinking, well, I'm going to compete internationally, then maybe you do want to spend a little bit more money on your gun instead of going out there with a tired old dog that you've been running for 5 years.
Yeah.
Notice he's pointing at Stoker there.
Never let me get down that gun. Never let me get down.
So it's the good guns are good guns.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to spend that much money?
Well,
it depends how much money you got, really.
I always say to beginners, like, you know, you're going to learn more through ammunition, through training and time on the range. When you're a beginner, like, you can go out and spend, you know, £6,000, go and buy a KL12, you know, shotgun. You're still going to get beaten by somebody with a £300 Stoker if they practice more.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I always, yeah. If you've got the money,
you always try to be that person with £300 Stoker, but it never. You did it.
I could do good runs, but no, it's like, I think you're probably gonna learn more from buying John's book than going and spending all the money.
So again,
on a gun.
you know, touching on the book there, you're better off going and buying a Ruger 1022, a cheap bunny basher, and bolting a scope on the top, and going to a match with the expectation of learning. Than spending a couple of grand on, well, 1,500 quid-ish on a Lantac plus a scope, because, you know, I mean, my scope weight, I've got a 1:6 Vortex. How much is that in comparison to, and I've had it for a long time, so I bought it at kind of peak market prices. Right. How much is that in comparison to a M&P? What have I paid? Like 2, maybe 3 times the amount of my rifle? Yeah. But I have a specific use for my scope, same as Ben. Ben has a specific use for his scope. That's Ben Ducker for anybody who's not paying attention. But we are the other end of the wedge. When you're first starting out, learn the game. Yeah. And by taking away the expectation of, well, I've just spent £2,000 on a gun, I should be able to perform. Well, okay, buying the best pair of trainers in the world isn't going to make you faster than, I was going to say Usain Bolt, but anyone who can run. Yeah. If you don't train. So learn the game, take away the expectation of performance, then when you know the game, then you can invest, and then maybe you do want to buy an M&P because you know what you want, and you've tried one. Yeah. Or maybe you say, oh, well, there's a Lantac, can I try that? Yeah. Well, don't like that.
That's what you say a lot to people, is actually don't go and spend 1,500 quid or £2,000 on, you know, a Benelli M2 SP, because you might find that actually it's the 1301 that suits you more. And you're going to be really pissed off if 6 months down the line you start learning about it, the way you shoot, what guns you shoot well with, and you realise you've wasted that money, you sell it at quite a significant loss because it's been modded and dinged and dented, and you go and have to buy a new gun. So, you know, the great thing about something like a Stoker is it's 300 quid. You know, it's entry. You can get straight into it. You can be competitive with it. You know, with the right training. And then, you know, if after a year or 2 years you need to get rid of it, you need to trade it in, or you want to buy another gun on top of that, you know, like an SP or the 1301 Comp, then, you know, you've always got a gun that you can give to your buddies.
I think maybe the shotguns is probably a bad example, because certainly the reason why you'd go for a 1301 or a Benelli M2 is reliability, and that's what you're getting when you're spending more money, is reliability, and you're taking away that.
Not always, but yes,
you are. Yeah. But you're taking away that. You're reducing that chance of the gun letting you down rather than you letting you down. Yeah. And that's always a confidence booster. That's always something important. But when it's coming down to the 2.2 ARs, there's a lot less in it. That 1522 is going to run just as reliably, if not more, than your £4,000 Northwest Custom Parts guns. Yes. Yeah. They're very nice guns.
Or the Lantacs. Or like any, you know, again, we say it all the time. Like, I've never come across a 2.2 AR as reliable as the 1522 for any price.
What's the biggest weak spot in the 1522?
Forend flex.
It's not the biggest.
I'd probably say,
because that only happens when you're leaning hard on the forend.
So there's say the magazine.
The magazines. Yeah. So if the magazines is the biggest weakness in the M&P, what magazines are you using in your Lantac, your CMMG or whatever else? Yeah. So you're actually transferring the same weakness across to whatever platform.
And I know when we had Ben Ducker on here, he talked very much about having competition mags and having training mags. And I know, Paul, that's something you spoke about with your Action Air mags, having fresh comp mags.
Yep.
Is that something you do yourself?
I did. And then the competition mags get worn and they become practice mags. And then I didn't buy any last time I went to America. And so, normally I do.
And now you can't find any?
Now I'm not prepared.
Not at a reasonable price.
Well, I think David Kiddle's still on stream, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think Caliber still have some 1522 mags. I know Black Rifle, they do still have, well, they had some.
Yeah, they had. Yeah. They don't. They were
Black
wrong.
Rifle one. David, if he's still on stream, will tell us if Callum still have some in stock. But I know that they are. But the supply has dried up completely at the moment. It's relying on people bringing them in, sort of as grey imports more than anything.
And you're going to struggle getting them because the Americans can't get them.
Yeah.
And the stores are selling out. I mean, that was the case when I was over there last year. So the stores can't get them. They can't produce them quick enough.
Well, on that note, Chris Lewis has actually asked, is there a supply issue with the 1522 itself due to the US? I mean, I don't know. As far as I understand it, Sportsman, who are the importers, have good stock of the rifles at the moment.
Alex has, you 1522s?
None now.
Do you have any on order?
Not yet.
Okay.
There's
I only sold one like yesterday, so
Okay.
that's all there in stock. So yeah, I need to reorder.
Okay.
So David is saying that Callum have 1522 mags in stock. I dare say within the next 15 minutes that'll be down to 10.
So someone's going to go
Well,
in there
Dave needs to put 5 aside for me, and we'll have to talk about price for selling the other 10 for him.
Put 4 aside for us as well, because we're getting through them.
Yes. And actually David did ask a question to John, and we were going to talk about this, the fantasy match,
yes,
or the theory of this match.
Yeah.
So Kiddle has asked, have you seen the Pro Shoot Wales range, and do you think it has possibilities as a venue for UK 3-gun big 2-day match?
I don't know, John. Have you seen the Pro Shoot range? Do you think it's suitable for a
I've
match?
spent a remarkable amount of time on top of a very windswept, wet Welsh mountain. Yes. That range, no.
Mm-hmm.
Quick answer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That range, I mean, yes, you can do 3-gun any way you want, but that range is predominantly going to be a bay range.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Yep.
Sort of the 3-gun nation style, fast stages, that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
When it's finished.
Yeah.
Which, depending on how Pro Shoot get on with it and the amount of, because the guy who runs Pro Shoot is self-funding it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a lot of money.
He's hemorrhaging money faster than.
And
it's not funny.
There's been various whispers, and certainly speaking to you more today, I understand about what Brian has planned for this. He's not just going for a good range. He's not even just going for like the best range in the UK. He's going for a world-class facility.
Yes.
It's something that would rival at the very least, if not surpass, the likes of Bisley.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. It's a massive. It's a old slag.
Coal slag.
Yeah, that's it. I've got to be careful when I say stuff like this on the stream. It can descend. But yeah, so there's huge amounts of space. I mean, this thing is massive. Shut up, you. Is massive. Seeing the pictures, so the possibilities really are endless there. But it is just a question of money.
So that particular range that we're talking about is certainly comparable to some of the World Shoot venues like Châteauroux.
Yeah.
It's definitely got the space for it. Maybe not quite as square as Châteauroux, but certainly rectangular. Has more than enough space for all the bays.
Yep.
Same size as the range in Serbia. Certainly, just take that square of ranges and spread them out along a longer thing. You've got enough space for 40 bays.
He's going to have dedicated from in discussions with him, dedicated practical areas for big matches. Maybe spill out into the other areas. He's got massive plans for it. But massive plans are going to take massive money, massive movement,
Massive time.
Yeah. But you said you spent some time up there, and it's sort of got your head.
So I put a proposal together to him to put on a big match up there, but with everything else going on. And the sort of match I want to put on, I'd have to, the way it was laid out when I saw it, I would have to effectively bring in hay bales or something to build berm walls,
Okay.
which is fine. But there's a lot of compromise being made there. A lot of that's safety orientated, and honestly, it's just not worth heading.
Okay.
There are other options. I'm investigating some of them. So that range at the moment, no. In the future, yes, probably.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we'd really like to see is some proper 3-gun in the UK, and maybe at some point, sometime in the future, that might be a reality with some of the ranges that are becoming available.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there likes the idea of it, or wants to potentially be involved in what's going on up there, then you can get in contact with John or Brian at Pro Shoot. So I'm sure they're going to relish any support or help.
Money.
Or money, yeah.
Brian's got it in hand.
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Brian always surprises me with just how much he can have on his plate and still
Yeah.
keep.
It always amazes me how fast he can talk and how little I can understand English in that accent.
Yeah. And it also amazes me how many crocodiles can keep him on bathtub. I don't think that's a conversation for this live.
Yeah.
From my limited experience, he's an interesting. Yeah.
Have you've never met Brian? Have you?
No, I met him at the British Shooting Show,
Okay, you'll meet him again.
and you were like, that's the guy with the alligator or the crocodiles. It's like, right, okay.
Yeah.
He's a genuinely really nice guy, and possibly one of the people doing the most for the sport at this moment in time.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Even in the short term, he's doing so much to push
But
forward
with
pro
Pro
shoot.
Shoot and the new members and new
Yep.
shooters he's bringing into the
Yep.
sport, training them up. Like he fast tracked his UKPSA instructorship to start delivering safety courses up there,
Yep.
and I'm pretty confident that he's going to start rivaling Dave Smith in the amount of new shooters he's gotten into the sport by making himself available,
Yes.
giving up his own time and his own money to get these people in. So yeah, massive respect to Brian and Pro Shoot and everything that they're accomplishing at the moment.
So it's sort of funnily enough, Tony Victor did ask the question: do you think there would be much of an appetite for two-gun in the UK, specifically mini rifle and LBP? So all the 2.2 rimfires. Well, my experience with Kentucky Firearms Club, I mean, when I first started shooting with them, it was before I even had an LBP.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I was doing was two-gun, just mini rifle and shotgun. Yes, there most definitely is an appetite in the UK. I'm sure John can attest to that as well. Three-gun is, everyone obviously knows about IPSC, and it's very, very popular here within the UK, and in divisions like shotgun we do very well on the international circuit, but three-gun I think is what has a lot more fame around it, to characters like Jerry Michalak and YouTube. The YouTubers of the gun world seem to be more three-gun focused, so therefore
Because they're American, they can shoot three-gun.
Exactly. So I think a lot of people in the UK they want to be doing the three-gun or the two-gun, and obviously the way our laws are, it does get limited. So bringing out two-gun does sort of help with that. So yeah, 100%. I know KFC used to run three and two-gun
I
divisions.
also think with two-gun it's very accessible because you've got people with their two-shot shotguns and with their mini rifles. Generally, FAC first gun you get, it's got to be a 2.2 rifle.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I just want to answer a question from David Kiddle, of course. Why does IPSC hate three-gun? IPSC doesn't hate three-gun. IPSC has multi-gun tournaments where it's one gun per stage, but then your scores are aggregated over all those guns that you've shot. And IPSC doesn't hate three-gun. It's just that currently IPSC does not have any rules to handle ditching a firearm mid-stage. They don't have. So with three-gun, there are rules such as the chamber has to be empty, or that the safety has to be on when you dump the gun, and all that kind of stuff. IPSC doesn't have rules to cater to that, and the problem is with IPSC is that the rules are only revisited before a world shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to change the rules for all the guns, you have to somehow line up all the world shoots at all at the same time in order to get all the assemblies in the same room.
So it might actually happen with COVID.
Yeah, no, because they've actually spaced it back out.
Have they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have.
Right.
So when they moved the handgun world shoot, obviously 80% of IPSC is shot with handguns, so everything focuses around the handgun. The other world shoots have all been pushed back because of that. So the thing is with IPSC is there's probably just a bit too much bureaucracy in the way of developing a three-gun rule set because of all the disciplines being treated separately. However, rumours only at the moment, but it looks like there may be a new way for IPSC rules to be developed coming in, which doesn't rely on the world shoot assemblies. So more regular review of rules, especially with these multiple disciplines coming out, some of which are yet to have a world shoot, such as mini rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some discrepancies in the mini rifle rules which are just ridiculous, because they don't appear anywhere else. Like 30 rounds in the magazine, right? You're only allowed 30 rounds in a magazine. Every other rulebook says if it's 30 rounds in a magazine, prior to the start signal, which enables you to put 1 round in the chamber, 30 rounds in your mag, 31 rounds total. Whereas IPSC mini rifle, it's an inane typo, but it cannot be changed until the assembly just before a world shoot. So we've got to wait for all that to come together. But with the way that rules are being written, being reviewed, there is a chance that there might be a more holistic assembly of all the disciplines, and maybe some rules to go with that.
So I don't think it's necessarily IPSC as an organisation hates 3-gun. I think it will be. It's going to come down to individual shooters and the rivalry, or what the sort of relationship between the shooters that do each side, because everyone thinks their own thing is.
I don't know
is
if
the
there
best.
is a rivalry. Like
Yes.
if
Yes, there is.
Have you seen the USPSA versus 3-gun memes?
No, but I've seen the USPSA versus IDPA memes, and those are hilarious.
Yes, but IDPA, USPSA, and 3-gun.
Okay.
There are some absolutely golden memes. Because the way I always describe it, that 3-gun is like NASCAR and IPSC is like F1, right? You can go to both and enjoy taking part or watching both, but some people are going to prefer others.
But I mean, why does IPSC hate 3-gun? IPSC doesn't hate because IPSC is not an entity that is capable of hating. It is, as you say, it's individual people. And I dare say, for those people who are able to shoot IPSC and shoot 3-guns, such as people who live in the US, they probably do shoot both if both of them take their fancy. I don't think there's any hatred or preference. I mean, there might be a preference.
There won't be from the 3-gun guys.
Yeah.
So if you shoot all 3 guns, you've got no problem shooting pistols.
Mm-hmm.
If you shoot pistols, you may well hate rifles, and you almost certainly will hate shotguns. So you are a pistol shooter, and 3-gun is alien to you, and therefore you hate it. So
that's just ignorance of the unknown.
Very much so, yeah.
Well, that's why you find a lot of, I think, US shooters going box fed, because quad loading seems to be this like devil, like witchcraft sort of thing.
As we've said a million times over, there are some very basic principles to quad loading, and it takes very little practice to actually be relatively competent at.
You had a customer.
We had a customer in yesterday. He was struggling because he'd watched so many videos on quad loading on what to do, how to do it, and we boiled it down to 3 specific things, 3 specific motions that worked for him.
Yep.
And he was doing it within 5 minutes, and he was absolutely flabbergasted.
And it's funny because you've done it with me multiple occasions. You did it with the customer that came in, but I've seen this happen multiple times, including myself, where I can't quad load. You do this, and you do this, and you go, okay. And everyone, they're like, that's still my hand. Like I just did it. It's not something everyone can do.
It's not a dark art. We probably should do a video. We do get asked.
It's on the list.
It's not a dark art, and the thing is, it is different for every person as to how you do it. But once you get like the basic bits of it down, so you're trying to get the cartridge, you're trying to get your grab right, hold down the lifter and not stick your thumb in. Once we find out which bits of those need to be adapted to you, I think
everything you just did was behind your computer screen.
Which we do down here.
What are you doing down there?
What am I doing down there? What am I doing down there?
Quad loading.
Playing with the click.
It's about the same size.
But
how would you know?
This only goes to the beginning and get you started in quad loading. Of course, as you start to get better and more proficient, then you need to bring in some more different techniques in order to up your game, get some consistency up and things like that. But for those people struggling to just grab 4 rounds and put them in the gun, do it slowly.
Yeah.
Start off slow, and the speed will come in time, as it always does. You'll hear that a million times over from everyone who shoots any sort of practical. And the other thing, a really good recommendation I can give you is if your gun was originally like a fixed magazine, you put an extension on it, get that original end cap that came off your gun, cut the end off of it so you've just got a clear hole through it, screw it back onto the gun to hold the gun together, and then just practice quad loading through it. All your rounds will fall out the other end, and you can practice it with no spring resistance, just bearing in mind you're not trying to do it quickly, you're just trying to get that motion right of
and get the muscle memory of it.
Get the muscle memory down. Once you're feeling comfortable with the grab and getting them in, put the spring back in, because you do need that resistance in order to train against it and to get that feeling. So you don't want to do that too much, but it's definitely something that will get you up and running very, very quickly. And you don't have to be loading 8 rounds in 2 seconds to be competitive. I mean,
We should
sure it
always
helps,
be doing two
but-
things at once on a stage anyway, and a lot of stages will allow you a good 10 seconds between your running,
Yeah,
between targets.
If you've got a 10-second movement, between
Yes,
targets is quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
If you've got like a 5 or a 6 second movement between targets, then you've got time to stuff some
Yeah.
rounds in there.
So we've got a question back to John from Gareth Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
This might well be covered in the book, but he's asked, when do you start your mental prep for a match?
Yeah, so there's two aspects of that. One is understanding the principles behind what you do and how you do it, which never stops, ever. And the actual mental prep for a match, like 2 days before. I don't really take much. The written stage brief that you might get sent to you or be able to access before a match, they're an indication, nothing more.
Okay.
They're not going to tell you the distances to targets. They're not going to, and they may well change on the day, or not on the day, but when they set them out. So there's going to be, it's an indication of what it is. It's going to tell you what start positions you've got, and how many rounds you need. It's pretty much all the information that you need out of that, and that doesn't need a lot of research. So everything else is just making sure the kit is squared away. So physically, I would probably a week before a major, I'd deep clean the gun, and then I go to the range and put some through it. Depends how many I've got, how I'm feeling, what the weather's like. Then give it a quick rub over just to make sure nothing broke, and then put it in the bag. That's it, squared. With the rig, go and put that by the garage door. The range bag, so I've got different range bags. I'm a bit of a range bag whore, if I'm honest. So, my shotgun range bag has got my rig and various other bits and bobs in it. I've got my personal range bag, which is this little thing like that. It's got my ears in it and eyes and gloves and hand warmers and some other random bits. Spare chamber flags, because you never know. And for the sake of a cheap piece of plastic, put it in your bag, rather than turning up to like where you sign your gun in and going, shit, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So you just square everything away. And then you've got to let go of expectation. Again, that comes back to that. So the mental preparation is trust. Trust in your abilities and having the trust in yourself. So the whole squaring away aspect is laying the groundwork to trust. So that when you go to the match, you can give up on, okay, how fast would you load in competition? Yeah, okay, well, I'm going to put a quad load in. In practice, I can do it in 2.5 seconds. Okay, we're at a match. So, and it actually doesn't matter because you're not in practice and because you're in this one-off situation. So you can't do any preparation for that other than put all the practice in and then ignore it, trust in your abilities, and apply yourself on the stage. So once you've got all your principles in place, your actual match preparation doesn't require all that much effort. The biggest effort is trying, for me personally, and everybody's different, and it's got different recently, but trying to wind myself down from an 8. So having those nerves, turning up, oh Jesus. I don't perform well at an 8. I'm too twitchy. I need to wind it down.
Okay.
Which means I might be listening to some Enya or something. Children of the 90s. Some chilled out music. Or just going off and being on my own for a bit. So I recharge well at being on my own. Just go off, like, just listen to some gun shooting in the background. Just embrace the atmosphere and chill out. Because when it comes down to it, it's nobody cares about your performance other than you.
Yeah.
The only thing people care about is that you don't point a gun at them. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't care about your performance. So trust in your abilities and just have the expectation that you are going to do your very best at every given moment, and you're done.
Yeah.
And when you walk off the stage, did you do your best? Well, I went there trying to do my best. I could have done this. Yeah, but you didn't. So you can assume you did your best. So no matter how bad the stage was or how good or what you had to overcome or whatever, you did your best. Is it better than somebody else? Maybe. Is it worse than somebody else? Maybe. but you can't control any of that either.
No.
So you controlled yourself, you influenced your surroundings, as in you shot the stage. Okay, brilliant. You can leave that in the past, like everything else, and just get on with the next bit.
Awesome.
I want to build on that a little bit. There was a customer I was speaking to not too long ago who said he was nervous about going to a competition because everyone would be watching him and the RO would be watching him.
The RO will be watching him because that's his job.
Yeah, but I said, well, what are you worried about? Because I'm worried I'm going to embarrass myself. I said, well, the RO is never impressed. An RO is too tired to be impressed by a good shooter. They are not there to watch how well you're shooting. They're, exactly as you say, they're there to make sure you're not pointing a gun at anyone or running with your finger in the trigger. Don't worry about what other people think, because generally speaking, your squad mates are going to be very, very friendly. They're not going to care too much about how you perform unless you're performing better than them, in which case there may be some animosity towards you.
But
As I had one squad mate once say to me, how the fuck did you do that 5 seconds quicker than I did? Like, didn't have a malfunction.
Yeah.
Which I think was
Again,
actually...
everyone goes to these matches. Ultimately, you're out there doing it to have fun.
Yeah.
And everyone's there to have fun. You might want to be a bit more... some people are a bit more competitive than others, but...
And actually, Tony, sorry, to interrupt,
Yeah.
Tony Victor's literally just said what I wanted to say just now. And this is the reason I love practical shooting in general, whether it's IPSC or any other discipline. You're only ever competing against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I like not feeling any outside pressure. I don't like listening to my score at the end. I'll check that the score seems roughly okay, because with pumps there's an issue with echo and timers. I'll press accept and I'll move on with life. I just prefer... as you say, do I think I did my best on that stage? And that's absolutely the way that it should be approached.
So when you get onto a stage, you're on your own.
Yeah.
When you're if you go to a range on your own and you're practicing, you're on your own. If you were there with a buddy, he's got a timer, but you have the gun and you are on your own. So when you get up to, you follow that all the way to the end of the line. You're on an international stage. There's cameras around. Everybody's queued up behind you because you're the next big swinging dick or whatever, and you're on your own. And as long as you understand that you're on your own, then there is no external pressure, because nothing else matters. You're only here to apply your abilities to the best of your skills, to the best of your abilities in the moment. Yeah. Do that. Don't. Nothing else. Literally nothing else. That's all circumstantial. That's literally outside of the range.
Yeah.
The only things that you can control and influence are inside the range. Nobody else is allowed in there with you. They literally are circumstantial.
So would you recommend then actually doing some training on your own, actually getting into that mindset of, whilst again you like going down to the range with friends because we're all there to have fun, but maybe doing some experience of literally going on your own and having to sort of fend for yourself, as it were?
Yes.
Cool. We've
we're getting screen wiggle.
Voice of God. There's two things.
Well,
just two things I wanted to finish up on.
Yep.
So someone asking for PSG safety courses.
Okay, so let me answer those questions.
Yeah.
So I was going to get onto both of those. PSG safety courses. We're in the process of organising some KFC specific safety courses.
Yeah.
Either here or at a separate venue, but David and I are talking about that, and we'll get something worked out. Tom LOA, in answer to your question, just you got to read that book. That's going to give you the answer to your question right there. And actually go back and watch the stream from the beginning, because we actually covered...
just come and find me at Froome. You can buy one off me direct.
Oh yeah, you can just go talk to him at Froome. Guys... Look,
and one last thing, one last question to John. Will there be a second book?
Oh, yes.
Depends if anybody buys that first one. At the moment, they're falling off the shelf.
If you want a second book, go and buy that. Again, you can buy it from Amazon or Magload.co.uk.
Show John some love. Guys, if you have enjoyed the stream with John though tonight, please drop some likes. I know someone's asked when will John be back on again, so I'm sure
thanks, Bill.
So what wasn't Bill? Actually, you're going to be very happy when you see all the lovely comments.
Oh, really?
About you.
Get on.
Yeah, so we'll go through those.
So John, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You're not as camera shy as you were.
I've ignored it. It's over there.
What camera? What? It was filmed?
It's just the bright lights giving you headache.
Yeah. And we would love to have you back at a further point. And
Appreciate
a big thank you to Paul and Alex for running everything in the background, and of course Connor's joining me.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, guys, we hope to see you soon.